Hello, I'm Helen Thorne, comedian and podcaster, and welcome to Weight Loss 360 with Boots Online Doctor. We're here to help you make the little changes that can have a big difference on your weight loss and all-round life. And this week, we're talking about the importance of hydration and what you drink as a factor in your health and weight loss journey. And as always, I'm joined by the fabulous Dr. Sam Wellapilly, lifestyle medicine GP at Boots Online Doctor. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Helen.
And for this episode, we have Dr. David Gwynne, GP and Deputy Chief Medical Officer at Boots Online Doctor. David, hello. So lovely to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Helen. Hi, Helen. Hi, Sam. Nice to be with you today. Yeah, so I'm Dave Gwynne. I'm a GP. I've been in medicine for about 20 years or so now. Been a GP partner in the NHS for about 10 years. But I made the leap into digital health about 2 years ago, where I was lucky enough to join Boots Online Doctor. And I've been working there with the lovely Sam ever since, which has brought us here today.
Well, we're very lucky to have you here, David. Now, I want you to give us a bit of a quick overview about, because I think everyone's fascinated about what we drink and what hydration means. Go on. Solve all our problems, David.
All right, Helen. Okay, Grant,
please.
Easily done. All right. So look, we're going to talk about hydration today, a topic that's really quite easily overlooked, okay, or not thought of that much. And look, I think talking about what you drink might feel like a bit of a dry subject, Helen, but it's something that I think we really need to get into a little bit more, because it can have an influence on all sorts of bits of your health that you may not be aware of, from your metabolism, from your gut health, and even to your mental health and the sport sort of outcomes and exercise performance. So I think it's got a lot of meat to it, and looking forward to getting into the detail.
Now, it goes without saying, I'm a big fan of drinking, love my water, love my wine. And also, I've often sought drinks for energy, thinking, I just need that sugary kick. I just need some juice to refresh me or revive me. And we have those gut reactions, or that thing is like, that's a treat drink. And sometimes we think, there's no calories in it, it's not really going to have an impact on our health. But turns out we're wrong. What are the important things that we need to consider?
Sure. So look, we all understand that water is important. When we're looking at hydrating our bodies, we want to look at sort of clear fluids really to hydrate ourselves, right? So we're talking about water, fizzy water, flavoured with some bits of fruit or whatever. We all know that's pretty much good for us and won't do us any harm. But a question we're asked really often is about things like diet drinks or low-calorie drinks or sweetened drinks. You know, what impact do they have on our health? Unfortunately, probably not quite as good for us as we might want them to be. If we look at the evidence that's there behind these artificial sweeteners, globally they're pretty all right for us, they probably have an impact on our hormonal system, which is equivalent to what you might get with a really sugar-sweetened drink. So let's think about it. So you're drinking an artificially sweetened drink, you consume it, your brain thinks, fabulous, a really sweetened, lovely drink, loads of glucose, loads of sugar coming into me here. So it releases all these hormones that are associated when you eat a lot of sugar. So when you consume sugary drinks or even artificially sweetened drinks, you get the same what we call insulin response. The problem with an insulin response is that causes fat storage. That's what it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so insulin switches off fat breakdown and encourages fat storage. So even though you're drinking a low-calorie beverage, you're still going to be triggering that insulin response. So these artificial sweetened drinks probably aren't as good for us as we originally thought.
But all I can think about is that only 1 calorie. You've got that sort of thing, and I was like, there's nothing there. It's like a free drink, but so your body doesn't know the difference between the real sugar and the fake sugar.
So we're asking your brain to do something pretty complicated, right? We haven't evolved to know about artificial sweeteners. The brain doesn't know what we're putting into it. It just triggers the same response, right? So if it's triggered by something that makes it think you've consumed something sweet, it'll respond in the same way. So we've got to be mindful of that when what we're consuming and think about how your bodies might react to it, which is where flavoured waters are probably better for us.
Yes, you're right, David, you're right. We know he's right. We can make it fun. Just not fizzy. Now, there's a lot of information out there to help us sort of understand how much water we should be drinking every day. But why might this help with weight loss? What has it got to do with, shedding a few pounds?
Sure. So it feels like a bit of a tangent, right? How does consuming water help you lose weight, and why is that important? Well, there's various different ways, really. So let's talk about keeping hydrated and how you know how hydrated you are to start with. It's going to be nice, Helen, but you've got to look at your urine. You got to kind of look at the colour, all right? You're telling me you don't do this normally anyway, is that?
I do have a cheeky look occasionally. Come on. Especially after a big night out, you're like, oh, did I drink Barocca yesterday? Oh, dear.
So you're looking for a pale straw colour. Anything darker than that tends to suggest that you're probably a bit dehydrated. Don't rely on the sensation of thirst. If you're waiting for that signal, your body's telling you it's pretty keen for some water on board. So use your urine colour as a trigger for that. Normally, people can tolerate about 1.5 litres, 2 litres of water a day. There are people, of course, on fluid-restricted diets that might be listening, and they'll be aware of that for kidney problems, X, Y, and Z. So they would often need to keep that input lower than that. But the general population, a couple of litres a day is enough, but spread that out through the day. So that's the hydration part of it, okay? It's what keeps us nice and healthy. But what specifically with weight loss? There's been some interesting studies done. They're relatively small, but they're really quite insightful. There's been some studies done in the US which have looked at people's timing of their consumption of water. So people who drink about 500 mils, so just around a pint, a bit less than a pint, about 3/4 of an hour before they eat, tend to find that they tend to consume a bit less. It makes sense, Helen, doesn't it? You distend the abdomen or tummy a bit, then you're going to be a bit fuller a bit quicker, right? So they find that their overall consumption's a bit less. But they also notice, interestingly, that the metabolic rate goes up. So your rate of burning calories goes up for about 45 minutes after you've consumed water. So look, marginal gains, Helen. Okay, we're not saying that this is going to make you dramatically slim, but all these things help, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not naturally someone who just reaches for a glass of water, Sam, I'll ask you this: how do you get into the habit, or how do you start introducing water into your day?
And it's a really good point, because a lot of us aren't in that habit of drinking water all the time, you know, and it is a habit that we can build. Again, that we've talked about. These are small changes that add up to the big long-term goals that we're wanting to reach. So, you know, gradually introducing water, and if you want to flavour that with fruit, with berries, with different herbs even, you know, herbal tea is also great. Something that will encourage you to drink it more and have less of that reliance on those sweetened drinks that we know can play havoc a bit with your insulin levels. We don't often talk about drinks on a weight loss journey, but it is really important. And also looking at our need for that sweet taste. I think this is a bit of a sticky subject, and I don't want to labour it too much, but just examining it of like needing to have sweet flavour a lot. And a lot of it is kind of historical for each of us. You know, we've grown up having a lot of perhaps more processed foods, more sweetened foods, and we've become very used to that flavour. These are small steps, but I think increasing our water intake can be a really positive step towards our weight loss goals.
Now, look, we're British. Let's talk about the cup of tea. Let's talk about the morning coffee. Now, they don't contain sugar. We do add a little bit of sugar, but they seem like the healthy option. Can we have too much tea? Can we have too much coffee? Tell me, how many am I allowed?
So we do know that 2 or 3 cups of tea or coffee are fine over the day, and that's actually can be quite helpful towards a weight loss effort. But let's remember that caffeine content of both of them. So it might be, if you know that you're particularly sensitive to caffeine, it does impact being able to get off to sleep and the quality of your sleep. You might want to stop drinking those caffeinated drinks sort of by lunchtime or early afternoon. But we know ourselves, it's a totally individual choice. But there is some evidence that tea and coffee can be helpful on a weight loss journey, but I wouldn't really go more than 3 cups a day, honestly, of either.
How big are the cups? My mugs seem to be getting bigger. I'm like, I've only had 3 coffees today. Don't judge me.
And of course, you're completely right. Like, we are talking about a lot of habit changes through these podcasts, and we do not want to overwhelm anybody. You can always come back and listen again, but honestly, just pick a couple of things that you can make adjustments to, just step by step. As we've talked about before, this is a long game, and this is not about changing everything at once and having to stick to these things, because it's not realistic. We're not machines, we're not robots. We have to take things step by step, and our bodies have to adjust.
Having said that, Sam, I'm gonna suck a bit of joy out of this for you now. Okay, so it's the syrups, right? It's the vanilla, it's the toffee. You can add all sorts of caramels, hazelnut,
the pumpkin spice.
Right?
Yes.
So these are the ones that are horrifically calorific. Okay,
Right.
Before you realise it. Okay,
It's like putting a cake in your coffee.
It is, pretty much,
Yeah.
right? And it's a bit that insulin response we talked about earlier. It brings it back into that sugary response that you can add to yourselves. So convincing yourself you're doing well just by having a pumpkin flavoured, because it's a vegetable, or is it a fruit? Who knows? They're probably not beneficial.
Yeah. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, and totally on that subject of like, how many do you put a lot of sugar in your tea or coffee? You know, like is that something that could be a habit that you adjust, that you wean down the sugar or in your coffee or your tea? Because it's that hit that is hitting your blood sugar response, your insulin response in the body, and you're negatively impacting your weight loss journey. So it's again another perhaps a target for you, perhaps a goal to think about reducing those sugars in your tea or coffee, and looking at the number of times you have that drink, especially if it's sugary over the day, and just having a look at and being mindful about that blood sugar response.
That sounds great.
So Helen, we all know that you've really transformed your exercise game over the years, but tell us a bit about how you got started with your hydration.
I guess in the beginning when I was running, and especially because I wasn't very fit, I used to fear having too much water because I was like, oh, I'll need to go to the toilet. I didn't want to stop halfway through a run or be caught short. So sometimes I would underhydrate myself because I thought, no, it's better to be a bit dehydrated than need a wee, halfway down the park with no place to go. But now I have to have faith that actually if I don't hydrate properly, then I'm just going to fall over. And as you said, David, checking your wee after a run on a hot day, it's sort of like nuclear waste. It glows, and that was a real wake up call for me, right? So I know now that it's really important not only to have water in the morning before a run, but also the night before to have that. You basically have to flood yourself with water to make sure you're really hydrated. And I know for older people like my parents, they didn't want to drink too much water because they didn't want to go up to the loo all the time, but I know that actually that's not a bad thing if you actually have to get moving and going to the loo. But yeah, I think hydration is so important. And now I do nerdy things like have electrolytes or like little electrolyte or salt tabs in my water to give me that extra boost of hydration and absorption as well. So yes, I'm a bit of a stickler. And like I was saying, my coffee cups are getting bigger. Now I just have these massive tumblers of water and I make sure I have them every day because I need it. And yeah, there's nothing worse than just feeling those effects of dehydration. You don't concentrate unfortunately I have to go for the water and not always the coffee.
Yeah. Well, no, it's great that you have that relationship with water now. I think a lot of us can mistake that feeling of thirst actually for hunger. And I think along the weight loss journey, that can actually be a bit of an exploration and a bit of a discovery, really, that, oh, I'm not actually, if I have a drink now, actually the hunger is kind of dissipated. Maybe it wasn't hunger in the first place. Because I think we get used to kind of ignoring thirst because it's a bit more of a subtle sensation than hunger can be.
Definitely.
How do you make sure you keep yourself hydrated then? Do you carry these enormous bottles and I see people sort of traipsing around with, or have you got your own way of doing it?
I don't have the trendy cup. I'm not going to mention the name, but we know the name. No, I've just it has been that slow habitual change. Like when I do dinners, with the kids at night, I always make sure now I have a massive jug of water. So I'm drinking water in front of them. I have big tumblers around the house. I have one next to my bed as well. Again, all those things are like, oh, I don't want to drink water because I don't want to get up in the middle of the night. But no, I just have them all around the house now, and it's just become part of my routine. And like you were saying, drinking water is a really good first response when you're hungry. So now I'll have even a small sip of water can have that sort of impact as well. So I think that's it. And yeah, different things like having, bits of fruit, lemon, mint, be sort of creative with it as well. And also another tip is having sort of warm lemon water when you get up in the morning as well is a really lovely thing. And then, that can kind of stave off the coffee cravings just for a little bit as well. So I think that's good. And just not be, I always just think, you hark back to when you were a child. It's like, it doesn't taste of anything, but it just does you so much good. So yes, I'm a big water fan now. So we've got a question from your fabulous community at Boots Online Doctor. Now this is around drinking with friends, like going out, you might be at a picnic, at a party or whatever, and you're trying to be good all week and drinking your water, and then all of a sudden there's a large choice of sugary drinks. What do? You're feeling under pressure. I was going to ask your advice because I think, especially when you've always been known as the party person and, oh, I'll have that mocktail or cocktail or whatever, I think that can feel like the big hurdle. That can be the big challenge, really.
Yeah, and it's really great to acknowledge that it can be a bit of a challenge in a social sense. We do we do enjoy socialising around food and drink, right? So I think it's being a bit adventurous with the better drink for you and for you on this journey. So maybe that is a fizzy water with lemon, with berries, with, some kind of mint leaf or lemon balm, or, something that actually looks lovely and tastes lovely, and to really be present. And again, you're rewarding yourself. You're making these amazing choices for your body. And for this journey, we're talking about a huge transformation for many of us, making big changes. And we're not 100% perfect. We're never going to be. So it's also giving yourself a little bit of leeway, remembering our 80-20, but also enjoying and entering into the spirit. So can you still enter into the spirit of the celebration or the socializing without having to have the really sugary drink? Because actually, how is that sweet drink actually adding to the fun of it? The fun of it is being with your mates, being at a party, chatting, laughing, all of those things.
Yes, I've often drunk fizzy water out of a wine glass. That's a little tip for your listener. Like things like that, because it's sometimes it's about not the muscle memory, but it's about just feeling part of it. And like, oh no, I'm just having my water in my tumbler. But yeah, things like that can make you just like it's sort of, it tricks you in a way. Your body's going, oh, you're having a treat. There's an umbrella.
It's worth looking around, because the supermarkets and things are all making a big effort these days to introduce variety around this stuff. So I think you may not realise what's out there. There's far more range of these sort of flavoured waters around than there used to be, and they're far more interesting. So it may be worth, next time you're in the supermarket, just going around having a look and see if there's anything new that catches your eye. There's probably more options out there than you think. Okay,
so we're making healthy choices now, Dr. Sam, but what should we look out for? Because I think we can get a bit sort of confused when it says diet, health, like, oh, only 1 calorie, all those sort of things. What should we be doing when we're turning the label over?
Yeah, and absolutely, it can be incredibly confusing. When you look at the ingredients list, remember that when they list out the ingredients, the first couple of ingredients are the majority ingredients in that product. So if on your drink, the first couple of ingredients are glucose, fructose or sucrose, these are all types of sugar, that's probably not a good choice for you on your weight loss journey. So if you can look for something that's more like aqua, water, as the first ingredient, then you're on a better track, really, and looking for natural flavourings.
Yeah, I think sometimes if you can't understand what's on the back of the label, it's probably not a good thing.
Yes.
They often try and hide these things as well. In the labelling, you can see sugar labelled as loads of different things, right? You can look at, they use glucose, they use sucrose, they use sucralose. They'll use different words for sugar to make people not realise what they're consuming a little bit. So just be careful. These can often be very different words for exactly the same thing. At the end of the day, it's sugar.
Now, speaking of sugary, lovely drinks that we all love, can we just briefly talk about alcohol? Because obviously we're going to have a fabulous episode devoted to that, but we can't talk about drinking without, the social lubricant, lady petrol, whatever you call your wine, whatever you call your favourite drinks. Now, I think this is such a big hurdle for people because wine or alcohol is associated with rewarding yourself. It's associated with fun. It's associated with celebration. And that's one of the hardest things to start to give up or feel like you're going to miss out on the fun because of that.
Yeah, I mean, alcohol's tricky, as you say. Okay, it's a social lubricant, as you quite rightly say. Okay, and it's got a cultural sort of part in our society. I think we all recognise the dangers of alcohol, but I don't think we really need to go down that line today. I think we're all fully aware of that. But let's think about it in the context of weight loss, which is what we're all here to try and focus on. So, briefly, guys, it ain't going to help us. Okay, it isn't going to help us.
Yeah.
Okay, it's empty calories. It decreases inhibitions. It'll make you want that cheeseburger or kebab that you really wouldn't normally eat.
Yeah.
And the next day, it can also affect sort of your eating choices. So we won't go into that in too much detail now. We've got a whole bite-sized episode coming up on that, where we can go right into the depth of alcohol and the impact that can have on weight loss. And I look forward to doing that really soon.
Excellent. Now, I think it's almost time for my favourite part of the episode. What are your top tips for drinking and hydration?
So the first one is really just that fundamental hydration of 1.5 to 2 litres a day, clear fluids, and to make that become a habit for you.
Excellent. David?
Keep an eye on your urine and make sure you avoid that nuclear colour you were mentioning earlier.
Yes,
yeah, let's keep it nice and pale.
That's right.
All right?
Not the colour of The Simpsons.
That's what came to mind, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So, Helen, the other thing you can do is just make those small changes that we've been talking all the way through this episode, really, around, can you make a small change into that flavoured water rather than the sparkly fizzy drinks that we're talking about? So just making those small changes towards the clearer fluids, the naturally flavoured ones, and trying to avoid highly sugared drinks would be ideal, really.
You can do it. I know you can. It's going to be all right, everyone.
It's going to be all right.
Yes.
You can do this.
Thank you so much. I feel very informed, and I'm sure the listener will be stopping the podcast now and just drinking a whole lot of water. You've influenced us. You've inspired us. Weight Loss 360 is a fresh air production with Boots Online Doctor. The producer is Ollie Seymour. As David said, we've got a bonus episode coming your way in a couple of days that will be all about alcohol. Should you? Shouldn't you? Can you have that one cheeky wine? Will it really hurt? Make sure you listen to find out. And next week, our last episode of the series, I can't believe it, we'll be talking all about self-sabotage and overcoming obstacles in your weight loss journey, a topic close to my heart. Thanks for listening. We're here to help you on all aspects of your weight loss journey. So remember to follow Weight Loss 360 wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure you check out Boots Online Doctor Weight Loss Service for a whole load of other amazing advice and free resources, including a weekly live webinar where our experts can answer your questions. The information shared here is evidence-based to help you achieve and maintain weight loss. However, if you have any health concerns or questions, please consult your GP before making any changes to your diet or lifestyle. Remember, every small change is a big step towards a healthier, happier you.